Hello and welcome to our English news coming to you from Canal. First, the top stories of the news. The President of the Republic, Majid Tebboune, receives the Al-Mustaqbal France party leader Fath Boutbik upon his request. During the G20 summit in New York, Algeria calls for involving Africa in shaping the world future economy and stresses the necessity for fair representation of the developing countries in the international institutions. And the IMF, or International Monetary Fund, praises Algeria's GDP growth and the reforms conducted by the state for a sound global economy. Welcome back. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Majid Tebboune, received on Thursday the leader of the Al-Mustaqbal France party, Fath Boutbik. Upon his request, the audience took place in the presence of the advisor to the President in charge of the Communication General Department, Canal Said. And following the audience, Fath Boutbik had this to say.
I
had the honor to be received by the President of the Republic, Majid Tebboune, on behalf of the party's executives and militants. The meeting was historic and responsible. We evoked files of different dimensions. We noticed the President's readiness to all innovative national initiatives meant to establish a solid basis and to deal with all irregularities. As a political class, civil society, elite and even citizens, we have to be aware of the challenges and to be up to the aspirations of a major battle while preserving the domestic front in coordination with the state institutions. We presented several political and economic files. The President is open to national dialogue and anchoring political experience. At the level of the Al-Mustaqbal Front, we do believe that the President's program, with a reform and futuristic vision, the President looks forward to working with a new generation of youth likely to give a new impetus to the country. Fath Boutbik speaking to our reporter. Prime Minister Sifirib chaired on Thursday a cabinet meeting devoted to implementing the President's guidelines of the Council of Ministers held on September the 21st, outlining the government's strategic objectives, stressing the necessity of efficiency, ground action, synergy of efforts and total coordination between government members within a methodology linking the different ministries as instructed by the President of the Republic. Started examining also the 2026 finance draw bill, taking into account the economic situation, the national growth rate and the budgetary framework of this bill, and the suggested measures to enhance investment and promote export outside the hydrocarbon sectors to ensure a sustainable development. Algeria commended South Africa's leadership of the G20 with major effort to boost the strategic priorities of the continent. Let's have a listen to the Foreign Affairs Minister Ahmed Attaf.
Algeria commends South Africa for its leadership of the G20 and values its tireless efforts in championing strategic priorities that deeply resonate with Africa's needs, aspirations and vision for progress. With South Africa's stewardship and the African Union's full membership, we believe that the G20 is fully able to lead a global transformative agenda for the common good. Against this background, Algeria wishes to highlight the following. First, as we mark the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, we must work together to preserve what can be fairly described as the most sacred and most precious heritage of mankind. This heritage includes, notably, the United Nations itself and all that it embodies in terms of international law, multilateralism, and global cooperation and interdependence. Second, the growing awareness about the injustices and imbalances of the current global governance must lead to concrete reforms. Africa must no longer remain on the margins of the world. The Security Council and the three Bretton Woods institutions must undergo comprehensive reforms to end decades-long of historical injustices inflicted upon our continent. Third, Africa's rightful place in shaping the future global economy must be secured and promoted. Every effort must be made to ensure that Africa is not left behind. The ongoing transformative revolutions that are reshaping the global economy in critical fields such as digitalization, robotics, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, and renewable energy.
Ahmed speaking during the G20. Taking the floor during the G77 meeting held in New York, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, stressed the necessity to put forward the fair representation principle of developing countries within the different international institutions. Attaf highlighted that the founding charter of the Algiers 1964 remains a milestone for cooperation and coordination between group members, indicating that the current challenges urge the developing countries to redouble their efforts. Ahmed Attaf met also with the personal envoy of the UN Secretary General to Western Sahara, Staffan de Mistura. The meeting comes in the wake of the discussions held between the two sides in Algiers on September 16th. It allowed the two diplomats to review the latest developments pertaining to the Sahara issue ahead of the UN Security Council meeting next October. In this connection, Ahmed Attaf reaffirmed Algiers' constant position favouring the UN effort to reach a fair and lasting settlement, while stressing the Sahara people's right to self-determination. Still with the activities of the Foreign Affairs Minister, who held also a series of meetings, including the US Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau, who expressed on his X account his great delight for this meeting, denoting a new era between the two countries under the aegis of President Donald Trump and Abdelmajid Tebboune, endeavouring to establish peace and security in the region with growing bilateral relations and more economic prospects. Ahmed Attaf called from New York for a stronger and more effective African Union, stressing that the organization must play a central role in preventing conflicts. Melissa Kabash tells us more.
Terrorism is the scourge threatening peace and security in Africa. The continent needs to benefit from special operations fully financed by the UN to maintain peace. These are the main points evoked by Foreign Affairs Minister Ahmed Attaf during his speech delivered at the AU Peace and Security Council Summit held in New York. His speech reflects Algeria's support and the approach aimed at repositioning the African Union and revitalizing its central and essential role when it comes to preserving the stability of the continent, currently witnessing a growing tension, crisis and conflicts. Minister Ahmed Attaf had mentioned that an increase of 400% of terrorist attacks have been recorded, a figure that requires a diplomatic vision efficient on the field. And while the continent is getting ready to launch a new reform process of Africa peace and security architecture, it is worth noting that this structure is still not fully operational, even if the Peace and Security Council is doing its best. Two essential mechanisms are still underway, notably the early warning system and the African standby system. And as indicated earlier, the Foreign Affairs Minister underlined the necessity to launch special operations fully financed by the UN to maintain peace, as serious measures are required to find long-lasting solutions to the crisis faced by the African continent.
Still with this global events, the Labour and Social Security Minister Abdelhak Seihi presented Algeria's 2020 and 2023 National Climate Plan during the UN General Assembly being held in New York. Seihi stressed that the plan represents an effective strategy aligned with national priorities while taking into account Algeria's international commitment. He added that Algeria had expanded renewable energy programs with solar capacity and plans to generate wind energy alongside major investments in water desalination plants. Finally, he reaffirmed Algeria's firm commitment to collective climate action. Algeria took part in the opening session of the Sino-Arab Cooperation Forum in the field of political research and capacities consolidation. The meeting allowed the Algerian delegation to expound Algeria's experience in governing and running public services. A set of international issues, notably the Palestinian issue, was equally evoked. Algeria is getting closer to its goal of becoming an emerging country. According to the International Monetary Fund, the country's gross domestic product could go beyond $400 billion by the year 2023. Melissa Kabash explains.
2030 promises great results for Algeria's gross domestic product, or GDP. According to the International Monetary Fund, $160 billion in 2020 is expected to reach $411 billion by the year 2030, an increase of 155%, a true remarkable jump for the national economy. The new investment law, alongside the modernization of the bank field, showcased a real diversity outside the hydrocarbon sector, a strategy adopted by Algeria that enabled it a remarkable expansion.
In this constellation of geopolitical, economic and industrial upheavals, Algeria is boarding in the train of modernity, with tremendous efforts being made to once again facilitate investment while also encouraging initiative and supporting the growth of companies, whether in the public or private sector.
La croissance des entreprises, qu'elles soient du secteur public ou du secteur privé.
Algeria is advancing steadily towards its status as an emerging country, supported by ambitious reforms, investments and objectives, such as the presidential one of reaching $400 billion by 2027.
It is an encouraging report, but one that must drive us to make even greater efforts, particularly by pursuing a second or even a third wave of reforms in order to further support Algeria's economic development. The clear objective remains to firmly establish our country within the global community of nations, and especially among the ranks of emerging economies.
The government has indeed placed great focus on economic diversification by encouraging growth in sectors such as agriculture, renewable energies and digital technologies.
You are still watching Canal Algérie. Coming up in our news. Algeria is backing business and project leaders by delving them into adequate environment abroad in quest of better efficiency in the near future. Welcome back to our news. 17 Algerian startups have landed in San Francisco for a deep dive in the world's most dynamic tech hub, aiming to gain insights, exchange expertise and forge partnership with both local innovators and global giants. Melissa Lila Balaman reports.
17 Algerian startups chose San Francisco, the global capital of business and technology, for an immersion into its ecosystem. The aim was to better grasp the local economy, foster the exchange of ideas and expertise, and build partnerships with emerging companies.
We
are in San Francisco, United States, where we've met with leaders from major firms such as Intel and Google. This visit gives us a close view of the American ecosystem. In this context, we met both local businesses and large international corporations.
The program included interactive workshops with Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, giving participants detailed insights into how companies operate in what is considered the beating heart of the U.S. economy.
Today we discussed how Silicon Valley investors view companies that are coming from abroad, what kind of metrics they need to focus on, what kind of traction they want to show.
We just finished a meeting about startups, VC kind of world, how it works, working on different aspects of how to approach an investor. Worked a little bit with the folks. It's a good delegation that came from Algeria.
This initiative underscores the state's commitment to bringing startups into direct contact with global industry leaders, giving them strong momentum in a fast-changing sector.
Still in the realm of business, young Algerian entrepreneurs are in Slovenia to showcase their innovation, build partnerships and position Algeria more firmly within the European economic landscape. Coverage by Yessinia Husseini, taken up by Melissa Lila Balaman.
A delegation of young Algerian entrepreneurs is in Slovenia as part of a strategic effort to open new paths for innovation and place Algeria on the European economic map.
It's both an honor and a responsibility to represent our country here by showcasing the innovative spirit of Algerian youth. I am proud to join this first delegation dedicated to advancing Algeria's development while seeking new partners. I thank the Algerian government for this opportunity to highlight our know-how in agri-tech.
More than a single visit, this mission is part of a broader plan to strengthen economic and technological ties, giving Algerian startups access to an advanced business ecosystem.
Slovenia offers unique opportunities and a geostrategic position that makes strong, effective partnerships possible. It has already proven itself in AI, software, data, digitalization, and other key sectors.
To support these ambitions, the ASEP program launched a workshop giving participants practical tools to build strong companies and clear a path from local ventures to global investment.
In this workshop, we learned how to pitch our startups, opening doors to Slovenian firms and other European market players.
This initiative shows the drive of Algeria's youth and opens promising prospects, not just in Slovenia, but across Europe and beyond, where these entrepreneurs aim to make their mark.
To a related story now, a small Algerian company specializing in packaging machines has grown from local prototype to a $20 million export deal with Senegal, showcasing the strength of the homegrown industry. Melissa Lila Balaman once again.
Focused on building, packaging and conditioning machines, this small business came to life through the determination of a young, energetic team backed by the state.
We began with 3D modeling, then break down and produce each part before moving on to assembly.
It is a fully Algerian know-how that highlights the rise of a competitive national industry. Here, everything is done in-house, from design and production to final assembly.
Everything our machines need is made here. We make sure to go through every step thoroughly.
A local product that first proved itself at home before moving abroad. The company has landed a $20 million export deal with Senegal.
We started with prototypes that were marketed nationally and well received by our clients. Now we are exporting, and to meet growing demand, we are planning to expand our workshop into a full factory.
A success that reflects how young enterprises can fuel Algeria's industrial momentum and consolidate its presence on the global stage.
To international news now, the former French President Nicolas Sarkozy was sentenced to 5 years in prison after finding him guilty of criminal conspiracy and a scheme to finance his 2007 campaign with foreign funds. He is expected to be summoned by the prosecutors within 1 month to inform him when he will begin serving his sentence. Another bloody day in Palestine as 27 people fell martyrs in the enclave in the wake of diverse strikes carried out by the occupation's army, still leading genocidal war that has claimed so far more than 65,000 victims since the outbreak of this devastating war on October the 7th, 2023. And with this, we come to the end of our news bulletin. Tomorrow, another day, other news. Keep tuning to our program. Take care and bye-bye for now.